What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Fumble Live. We have a lot of news to get into today. We're talking about some unhappy NASCAR fans. We're talking about Steph Curry. But before we do all that, make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and of course, leave a comment below. Now, today we are actually down one member of the Fumble squad, but here's the intros. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward. Chris?
It's your boy Chris. You can find me everywhere at CK2K.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl Britt. You can follow me on all social media at @IamBrittJohnson. Really quick, I want to say RIP, happy birthday to my grandma. It's her birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday to your grandma. Hopefully she's celebrating up there with a nice cake and some balloons and candles.
Right.
A margarita is what she'd prefer, but yes.
Okay, margarita, that's what she's having. Guys, so also June 11th marks the 23rd anniversary from MJ's flu game. Just wanted to mention that because we talked about it when The Last Dance was going on. So the flu game, food poisoning game, it happened 23 years ago today. Very interesting. You guys, so quarantine is kind of being lifted here in Los Angeles. So how do you feel about that? Are you guys going to be going out to restaurants and bars as they start opening up? Britt, what are you going to do?
I mean, I've already been protesting pretty much every single day, so that kind of went out the window a long time ago. And then I actually went to Crossroads for brunch this weekend. So I went to a protest this weekend, and then after the protest, we walked over to Crossroads. You just had to make a reservation, and they have it kind of like spaced out in plexiglass in between like booths and stuff. But we set up anyway. But yeah, we went there for brunch, and it was great. So yeah, I've already been going outside.
Oh, okay. Chris, what about you? How do you feel about things opening up and quarantine being lifted?
Yeah, semi-similar response, except for the restaurant stuff. The boys, we're trying to figure out if we like the NBA because we're trying to figure out if we are ready to go back and play. But we got some guys that are like, yo, I got kids. I don't know if I can do this right now. So it's a whole bunch. It's a whole situation. So basketball right now is still up in the air. The homie PA is still in talks to see if we're going to have basketball back. But until then, we'll see what's next.
All right. Well, I was supposed to go to Crossroads tonight. I was actually very excited about it. It was supposed to be an early birthday dinner, but my friend bailed on me, so that's not happening anymore. But I would have been going. So I think I feel okay with it. It feels a little nerve-wracking, but I'm excited that things are going back to normal.
Yeah, obviously it's not normal. It's definitely like a version of like especially like Crossroads. It's like, oh, you can't even go inside and go to the server unless it's your exact time for your reservation. If anybody else is right there, you have to wait outside. And then, while you're ordering, you still have to have a face mask on. They don't bring menus to the table anymore. It's just like this code that you look up with your phone and pull up everything on your phone. So it's like, everything's done in like. And obviously they space the tables, so every table's like 6 feet up and all that kind of stuff. So it's not normal. So it's not like people are going into like packed bars or whatever the case is. So people are still practicing what they can, but we're starting to get like a little bit back to normal and we're still washing our hands. We're still wearing our face masks.
Yeah.
You should always be washing your hands, but
Yeah.
Right. Seriously.
I like that hand washing has become this like novel thing that everybody's talking about. Right. And really, I've been doing it the whole time.
Always been doing it, right?
I'm glad to know that LA is not pulling a Scottsdale and like just opening things up and letting all the crowds rush in and people are like jam packed in a pool. I think that it's good that we're kind of taking things a little bit slow because now they have. I heard that the ICUs in Arizona
their second win. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is pretty scary. Crazy over there. Yeah.
So I don't really want that to happen here. I'd love it if we could like keep things at bay a little bit. Okay, so coming up in Need to Know News, you guys, we're talking about how a reporter called Steph Curry a high-paid Harlem Globetrotter. I can't wait to get your guys' thoughts on all of that. LeBron is actually getting involved in preventing voter suppression. He's teaming up with other athletes. I think it's a cool move for him. And then NASCAR. I don't even want to drop any hints. This story makes my blood boil because the reactions to it have been absolutely insane. But Chris, what do we have coming up for you in the post-up?
Well, normally we're talking about some takes that Kendrick Perkins has, but not today. We got Kendrick Perkins out here in these streets making moves, and we're going to be checking that out. It's actually pretty funny. I have some NASCAR stuff too, but mine was a little bit more positive. I know what you're talking about, Devin, and I'm interested to talk about that. But my side, I have the more positive side of NASCAR, especially with what happened with yesterday's race. And we have some conversation about the NBA coming back and what will happen when the NBA comes back. But quite a few things coming up on Post Up.
Okay, and Britt, should I assume that we are not dropping hints today, or do you want to give us a little teaser?
I mean, it's not NCAA or the NFL, so I shouldn't be censored, but you never know. This actually isn't that bad of a one. It's going to piggyback off of what Chris is talking about in Post Up, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right, you guys, stay tuned to the end of our show for all of that. Now let's jump in with the first need to know news story. This is that Harlem Globetrotter story. Rob Parker from Fox Sports doesn't think that Steph deserves a spot on any three-point shooter list, like any greatest of all time list. He thinks that Ray Allen is a much better shooter than Steph. He defended his point of view, saying, quote, "It's real simple. Ray Allen has had more threes and has made more clutch threes, and that's what it comes down to. Steph can make all the regular season threes he wants, but he doesn't make the big shots." And now here's the thing that got everybody really mad. So this guy really said he's more like a high-paid Harlem Globetrotter making trick shots. Since 2010, Steph is only shooting 35% for his career in the last 2 minutes to close playoff games. He also said that because Steph hasn't won Finals MVP, he can't be the greatest shooter of all time, even though there's really no direct correlation between the two. And just into the numbers a little bit, Ray Allen made 2,937 three-pointers, but he also played 18 years in the league. Steph is coming up on his 11th year, and he's already at 2,437. So I feel like it's kind of a baseless argument to say that Ray has made more when he had a longer career and Steph is still in the middle of his career. Anyway, Britt, do you feel Finals MVP matters when discussing the greatest shooters? Do you agree with Rob Parker on that statement?
No, not as far as, I mean, Finals MVP matters the least of everything for the NBA. Like, obviously, if you're talking about Super Bowl MVP, that's a huge deal. That's totally different. But Finals MVP, I mean, one of the years the Warriors won, it was Andre Iguodala, you know? And prior to that, during the regular season, he hadn't really played or had like a season. So do you want to put him as a better shooter in that series than Steph was? No, absolutely not. One of the greatest clutch players of all time is Robert Horry. He has, I believe, 8 rings, you know, but I wouldn't put him as better shooters than a lot of other people. He just is really clutch in those moments. Steve Kerr was the same thing. Maybe he came clutch in moments or whatever, but really you're going to say he's a better shooter than a lot of other people? No, it's like a silly thing. And I mean, the Harlem Globe, I don't want to even say that this is a diss to Harlem Globetrotters because they're good basketball players. Like, I've gone to several Harlem games. I think they're fun. They're entertaining. It's some of the best, like, dunkers you'll see. A lot of the guys, you know, had semi-decent careers or played street ball a lot and kind of just, you know, didn't really, like, pan out because of other things outside of their talent. It wasn't their talent that didn't get them to the – so I don't want to say that that's a – it's not even a diss saying that to Steph because that's cool. If you can literally in an NBA game still do cool trick shots and stuff like that, then that's pretty dope because you have defenders going against you, you know? So that's not even a slap to me to even
see. The only reason why I feel like it was a bit of a, you know, like a shot at Steph was because I think it sort of reduces his contributions in a game to nothing more than theatrics when in reality, yeah, he does these trick shots, but he's also a good player. So Harlem Globetrotters are awesome and they're so fun to watch, but I think it's just like a different level. It's two different things. At least that's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, I think just because a lot of people assume that and say that Steph doesn't really play defense, and when he is stealing balls, it's like, you know, later balls that it's after the fact that like he didn't really have anything to do with or whatever the case is. So I see what he means when he's saying that, honestly, because like, I mean, even like the game where Klay Thompson only dribbled the ball 4 times, like how does that happen in an NBA game, you know? And he made like whatever it was 38 points or 42 points or whatever the case is. So like, I mean, And they're the Splash Brothers for a reason. They're an entertainment show. They are a show to watch. So as far as the NBA is concerned, I would say they are the entertainment of the NBA in that capacity.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, Chris, I want to hear from you. Is Rob dragging Steph for no reason, or does he have a point?
Normally I don't tend to agree with a lot of things that Rob Parker says, but in this one I didn't really have any beef with it. I see what he was trying to do. He was trying to be funny, trying to compare him. I think like you said, he's trying to take away from what he's done on the court and just like minimalize it to just he's just out there showboating and not really actually a good basketball player. And I think that's what he was trying to do. To me, I didn't see it as a big deal. I think he has a fair argument with Ray Allen. I mean, that's his opinion. I don't think it's an outlandish and outrageous opinion to have. At the end of the day, people are probably, even when Steph has more threes, people are going to still say Ray Allen's a better shooter than him. So I had no problem with his argument and him. And I think, like Britt said, I think him trying to compare him to a globetrotter and stuff like that was just, to me, it was a swing and a miss. It was like, what you were going for, but nah, stop that. So I mean, he has his opinion. Rob Parker likes to be very outrageous with the stuff he says, and he tried this time. That's all I saw it as. But come on, we all know that Steph Curry is the reason why the league is not the full reason, but he's a big part of the reason why the way the league is played right now because of Steph Curry. So I mean, Steph Curry, I'm sure, is hearing this and doesn't even care anything about what Rob Parker's saying.
Yeah, well, it certainly riled up the fans. A lot of the Twitter reactions were like very, very angry. So I'm surprised that you two are so neutral when, man, the keyboard warriors, they were out on Twitter. And, I actually feel a little more strongly about it than you guys do. Britt, did you have something else that you want to say? I felt like you raised your hand for a second, but if you didn't, then we can move on.
Just to his point when he said some people think Ray Allen is a better shooter than Steph Curry. And I raised my hand because I think that I'm one of those people. So.
All right, well, Fumble fan, for those of you who are tuning in live and who are watching it after we are live, let us know who you guys think is the best shooter. Is it Steph? Is it Ray Allen? Is it somebody else? Fill us in the comments or in the chat. Now let's move on into this news about LeBron. I'm sad that we don't have our resident bronzexual on the panel today, but I will have to take care of that. And you know what? We may all be bronzexuals after this story. So LeBron is working to prevent voter suppression of African Americans by teaming up with other athletes and celebrities to start a new voting rights group. According to the New York Times, he's starting this group called More Than a Vote, and it will be focused on educating and protecting Black voters while also encouraging them to show up at the polls for the November 3rd election. He spoke to the New York Times and said, quote, "Because of everything that's going on, people are finally starting to listen to us. We feel like we're finally getting a foot in the door. How long is up to us? We don't know, but we feel like we're getting some ears and some attention, and this is the time for us to finally make a difference." Joining in on his mission are other athletes like Draymond Green, Trae Young, Jalen Rose, Kendrick Perkins, and Skylar Diggins-Smith. He told the New York Times, quote, "Yes, we want you to go out and vote, but we're also going to give you the tutorial. We're going to give you the background of how to vote and what they're trying to do, the other side, to stop you from voting." So in a lot of the counties with larger Black communities like Atlanta, there are long lines. There's a lot of frustration while people are waiting to cast their vote. So Chris, I want to ask you first, how effective do you think More Than a Vote will be?
I'm hoping this is very effective. I think it's a good idea because it's something that is, in my opinion, I feel like it is something that is necessary because when it comes to the polls, a lot of the time, Black people are the ones that aren't really getting there or wanting to go to the polls because of many various reasons. And I think for him to put together something like this is great. Just out of pettiness, I was really hoping, especially with what we've been talking about all week, I was hoping to hear some NFL player names in that list. Maybe there are some.
Hey, Alvin Kamara is in it. He's part of the group.
Right. I wanted more. You know what I'm saying? Because we saw all of them in the video. I just wanted more. I just really want the NFL to just come on, just embrace it, but like be strong, like stand up. We need you to do it.
Hey, come join me.
That's I agree with that. But but other than that, no, I like the idea of this. I think this is definitely something that needs to be done, and I hope that this is something that needs to change because all the protests and everything that's been going on is very necessary, very powerful. But this next stage coming up is very important, and it's not even just the presidency. It's everything from, within your city, within where you're living and stuff like that. You got to make your votes for those kind of changes around everywhere in this nation right now. So I hope this works. And I think it's a good step and it's a good start. LeBron James doing what LeBron James is doing. So I like it.
Yeah. So actually, Chris, some of what you said brings me right into my next question. Britt, do you feel like what else would you like to see LeBron and other athletes do to counteract the structural racism that we already see in the voting process? Is there a particular person you'd like to get involved or a particular action that you'd like to see happen?
No, I mean, we'll see what happens with this whole thing. Obvious, and actually, I don't want to see what happens with it. I think what would be really important and what needs to happen, because obviously we all saw the disaster that happened in Georgia on Tuesday. It was literally crazy. And I actually ended up looking up some stats because I like to look shit up. But basically, Black people actually usually go to the polls instead of doing mail-in ballots, and white people usually do mail-in ballots just statistically. So in Atlanta, for instance, they ended up day of closed 40 of the places where people were supposed to go vote. A lot of people that were supposed to be poll workers and stuff like that bailed out at the last second, all just because everyone's scared about the coronavirus, yada, yada. So this is why we saw these long lines and blah, blah, blah. So, and most of them that were shut down, the places that were shut down were in the Black communities. So I hope in this that they actually tell people, if possible, in your state, please register to get your ballot by mail. Because it's going to be, no matter what we do, and obviously they've been begging for more dollars to be put towards, different, everything with the elections this year, just because of COVID-19, and everything's going to be kind of crazy, but and more training ahead of time, because they had poll workers that didn't know what was going on. They were opening up late. All of this kind of crazy stuff was happening in Georgia and in Ohio and stuff this week. So literally, if you can, please vote by mail, because that is going to be the easiest way. Some states obviously are new to mail-in voting, so they might have some issues, but California has been doing mail-in votes for a while. Certain elections we don't do it, some we do, but I think obviously because of COVID-19, everyone's kind of leaning more towards doing the mail-in ballots. Like Chris was saying, your local and your state elections are most important ones that affect you personally, because they affect who the mayor is. The mayor elects the chief of police, and it just trickles down from there. You vote on every single judge that is literally in a room. You vote on all of those judges, So I don't know, district attorneys, all of that stuff. So I think the best part is going to be the education part of this, because people kind of just see a name when they're like, oh, this is who I'm picking for president, or this is who I'm picking for governor. Everybody else is like, oh, I don't know who this judge is. I'm just going to pick whatever name looks cute, or whatever, and they have no idea. And really, those are the most important people you're supposed to be voting on. So hopefully this platform focuses on educating people in whatever. And obviously we're going to need athletes, I think, in every single district and in every single city, because every single area is going to have different voting and different people to look at. So obviously LeBron and his 10 people that joined, and Kevin Hart was a part of it as well. They can't do that for every single county and every single whatever on their own. I think maybe if they get it to where each county has a representative, and that's who they go to, and they can literally break down and how people should vote and why you should vote this person and all of that kind of stuff. So obviously I think this is a good start, but I would like to see in the next couple months or month and a half or so, everything just get broken down even more, to make sure that it's it makes sense to wherever that person is, not just LA and Atlanta and New York, all those other little cities that end up changing the whole entire voting spectrum of, we saw it obviously in 2016, but I hope all of these areas are heard and stuff for this. So, but shout out to LeBron.
Yeah, shout out to LeBron.
I'm very passionate about this. I just actually applied to be a poll worker. So I was y'all ain't about to do us like this in Cali. We go out there, okay?
That's awesome, Britt. I love that you're getting involved. And shout out to LeBron. I think that this is a cool thing for him to be focusing on right now. It's obviously super important, really valuable. Hopefully he can get some more NFL players involved, like you were saying, Chris. But for now, I'm just glad to see that the people who are participating and who are involved have done that. I think it's awesome. Okay, so now let's get into this NASCAR news. Even writing these notes today was making me so annoyed and mad and angry. My blood was boiling. So NASCAR did a huge thing. They made a significant decision to ban the Confederate flag from racetracks. It's a positive move, obviously a step in the right direction, but there are some freaks and weirdos out there who aren't happy about it. Ray Ciccarelli, a guy I've never heard of before today, announced the end of his NASCAR Truck Series career with a Facebook post after the ban was announced. He wrote, quote, and I have the picture for you guys to see, so Leo, if you can throw that up there. He said, it's been a fun ride and a dream come true, but if this is the direction NASCAR is headed, meaning a racist-free one, he said, he continued, we will not participate after the 2020 season is over. I don't believe in kneeling during the anthem, nor taking people's right to fly whatever flag they love. I could care less about the Confederate flag, but there are people that do, and it doesn't make them a racist. All you are doing is effing one group to cater to another, and I ain't spend the money we are to participate in political BS, so everything is for sale. So that was a really well-worded Facebook post. What this guy apparently doesn't realize is that waving the Confederate flag at NASCAR events, as people have done for a long time, was already effing one group to cater to the other. So he's completely misinformed. He doesn't understand, and his racism and white privilege is showing. And also, if this is what he's going to be outraged about, not police brutality, not people dying, then I don't care. He has 0 wins. He can go. Nobody's going to miss him. Anyway, he wasn't the only one who was upset by this news. The NASCAR fan base was also stunned when the sport removed guidelines that forced team members to stand for the national anthem. This is, of course, a very peaceful way to protest, but the Karens of the world just cannot tolerate it. They eliminated those guidelines before last weekend's race at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Kirk Price wasted no time in kneeling and raising a fist. People were tweeting things saying, quote, what kind of ish is this? NASCAR has gone fully to the Democrats. I will never watch NASCAR again. NASCAR was able to stay out of the political arena for most of its existence. I see my lifetime escape from this has now ended. And then this guy got really strict with all of us and said, you stand during the national anthem and that is final. I have a lot of things that I would like to say to these people, but I'm going to hand it over to you guys. So, Britt, I want to hear your thoughts. We're seeing, obviously, a ton of backlash from NASCAR fans. If other leagues start making more progressive changes, do you think that this is the kind of reaction that we can expect moving forward, or is this just a special circumstance reserved for NASCAR fans?
Well, also as well, the soccer league actually came out and because they actually banned the women's soccer team from kneeling as well. Done that, and they took that back as well. They said, sorry, we apologize, that was not the right thing to do, blah blah blah, and they reversed that rule too. So I think we're going to see it kind of across the board. Obviously we've talked this week about NFL players saying that they plan on kneeling as well this year, but it's so funny that they make this a political, like Democrats versus Republicans. No, this is a human issue. Like, you having to believe that humans should all be equal, that's a problem for you. Like, I just don't understand. Like, people are so stupid. It's like not even funny. I actually canceled Ants this week because I did go off on them first. I believe it's important to make sure you don't just delete people. You tell them about themselves and then you can delete them after the fact. But I made sure I told 2 of my aunts about themselves because they were talking about the same thing, about the flag and about blah blah, and like it's crazy. And literally, this guy Ray is like, you have to about the Confederate flag because you're so mad that it's making you quit your job. Like, you have to care about it. To say you don't care, like, is crazy. I ended up researching him a little bit. He's from Maryland, which was actually a Union state anyway, so I don't even know what ties you have to the Confederate flag to even give a crap. But but like, he's just like, I mean, it's so silly to even say, oh, so now everyone can wave all their flags. That's like, doesn't even make sense. I know he would be pissed off if they started doing the LGBTQ flag out there. Then he would have something to say about that too, even though he just now is trying to say we should all be able to wave all our flags out. Like, he's just like literally talking out of his butt. Like, I literally thought of the moment where we've been talking about it this week and last week, when people announce they're unfollowing you. Like, good riddance. I don't give a shit.
Right.
Like, you know, like goodbye. Nobody cares. The highest I mean, he's been racing. He's raced in 18 races over the last 4 years, none of them in 2020 anyway. And the highest he's ever gotten was 9th place. Like, nobody cares about you. Nobody knows who you were. I did a story on this that'll air after the show, and it took me a while to find some pictures of him on Getty. Like, he had like one little like set of images. Like, nobody cares. Sir. Goodbye. And honestly, everybody else that feels that way too, goodbye. Because guess what? I will now start watching NASCAR myself and supporting Bubba. So I will watch, I will support
Bubba.
myself. So we can take your guys' spot. That's perfectly fine. Goodbye. See you later.
Yeah.
Because guess what? The most watched sports are the NFL and the NBA anyway. And we have more minority fans that will come in and support and be behind somebody's back than you little racist people that try to act like you're not racist. In this moment, it's bye Ray Ray, bye.
Yeah.
Peace.
See, that's how I felt. I was writing these notes and I was like, I literally hate everybody. These people are so annoying. Okay, Chris, now I want to know if you could talk face to face with any one of these Karens on Twitter, with little Ray himself, what would you like to say to him or them?
Oh my goodness, I don't know if there's a lot that would be said, because it would be a lot. I would need my boys with me to stop me from doing what I would actually want to do, because first of all, hearing this news, it's nothing out of the ordinary. We got to remember what the sport was. So I knew there was going to be backlash. To be honest, for all the support and all the news to come out about Bubba in the first place, I was surprised that a lot of them were letting that fly. A lot of them were cool with Bubba having that. I mean, there were, of course, people that were upset about it. So then now we got that is not even that great at racing his car anyways, is out here crying and putting up a whole Mater-esque Facebook post, and we're supposed to be like, you know, feeling for him and believing that he doesn't care about what missed me with all that. So I don't know if I can say what I would want to say with him face to face. I just know that it would not be just me, because I would make sure I have my boys with me. And remember, we talked about it yesterday. I got a homie of my own named Bubba, and he's a big fella, and that's the reason why he got the name Bubba. So I can just say that's the way the conversation would go, because it's just crazy. Because Rich said, this isn't even about Democrat and Republican. This is about humans. This is about us being equal, and obviously you have a problem with that, Ray, and pretty much the majority of the fan base in NASCAR. And like Britt said, and I was there yesterday, NASCAR just gained themselves a fan, because I do like cars, and you know what? I was actually intrigued to see how Bubba was going to do yesterday. We're going to talk about that in post up. So sorry, Ray, you can go on and, you know, probably try RC racing, or there's video games where you can go and stream that with your little racist code over there and stream it on the far end of the internet, and you can do whatever you got to do.
And Chris,
let's add one.
Yes, Britt, go ahead.
I just want to add one thing. Even though, like, obviously banning the Confederate flag is like long due, I even saw a post about in Virginia, they finally decided to remove a block that used to be an auction block for slaves. That was this 800-pound block that was like literally it had a memorial thing on it that was just like, yes, it was still there, and they've been debating for years if they should remove it, because it's a part of their history, and it's like a whatever thing, not a memorial thing, but like it was a part of the history, and it's a part of Virginia. He still had it there, and so obviously a bunch of protesters like spray painted over it, and then finally the city announced that they will be removing it. Like, what? Wow. What? But so with that said, with NASCAR, so yes, it's long overdue. Ben should have done this, but I understand what most NASCAR fans are and what they're the middle of America people. So I do want to say this was a big deal for NASCAR to do this. So I appreciate them being willing to lose all of these fans. Because, I mean, with NFL and with basketball or NBA and stuff, like there's a lot of everybody. So you're not going to really be missing out on much. But NASCAR has a lot of fans that feel the same way that Ray feels. So that is one sport in particular that I do feel like that was a big move from you guys, just because what your fan base is predominantly like, so because they want to stand out and, be like, listen, okay, I mean, obviously they were kind of pushed into a corner in a sense, but they were willing to lose the majority of their fans in order to do that. And I think that that's something that I'm not going to applaud you for being like a decent human being, but that is something that I'll give you a little nod for.
It's a step.
Yeah, it's a positive move. It's a step in the right direction. And I'm totally with you. I think they do deserve a little recognition, but Confederate flags should have never been allowed there in the first place. But that's a whole other conversation to tackle. Chris, just want to let you know, if you do get an opportunity to confront any one of these people, I'd gladly join along with you. I'm tiny, but I can be mean in those kinds of situations. So I'll join you, Chris, and you guys can see the angry side of it. All right, well, that wraps up Need to Know News. Let's go right into the Post Up.
Yes, time for Post Up with your boy Chris, quarantine edition. And I want to give some laughter to the chat after that insane news from Ray. But Kendrick Perkins, somebody we talk about a lot on this show, especially on Post Up. He was challenged to I'm already laughing. He was challenged to post him doing some drills, showing his handles and whatnot. And normally in a situation like this, I would just have the video playing while I'm talking to you. No. I need you guys to see the video and hear Kendrick Perkins throughout the entire drill. Okay, because he's breathing very, 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 very hard. And I want you guys to hear Kendrick Perkins going through this drill. So if we can start that video, please. Listen to him. Listen. Listen. Now, sound effects aside, look, I know people are giving him crap. I'm not gonna give you credit. You were killing, like you did good for a big dude to have handles like that. Like, I'm gonna give you credit, but man, it was just all I could think is like, is this what we're gonna have to deal with in July? Like, are we gonna be hearing when Joel Embiid out there trying to cross somebody over? You going like he's out there crossing somebody over? So that's the first thing that went through my mind. But Kendrick Perkins. I look, you did to me for what I was expecting. You still got the handles. You're doing what you gotta do for a dude that didn't dribble a lot in his career. I'm gonna give you a pass on that. But man, boy, I want to see the gallon of water that he chugged down after effect. Yeah, that is hilarious. Moving on back to NASCAR. But more so on Bubba Wallace. For those who probably, I'm sure people saw, but Bubba Wallace had, or NASCAR had announced that Bubba Wallace would be driving a Black Lives Matter themed car that was actually really dope. And they put it up, and people were excited to see it, and rah. And following that, then NASCAR had dropped their statement that we were just talking about not too long ago, saying that there will not be any Confederate flags allowed at any of their events and stuff like that. It was a huge step for them. Like Britt said, it's what you should be doing, but at the same time, knowing that you have the fan base that you have, that is a very huge step, because you're probably going to lose a majority, as we were just talking about, with all the hate and all the upset people out there. But while you're losing fans, you're also gaining some fans. Like we said, we were watching some of the race yesterday, and you've also gained a pretty famous fan in Alvin Kamara, because he responded right away to that statement by saying, yo, when's the next race, with the popcorn emoji. And to be real, I was there yesterday. I made sure I caught the time. I know I didn't watch the whole entire thing, but I made sure I took the time to watch the end of it. Unfortunately, what we're going to talk about in a little bit, but unfortunately Bubba didn't get in that top 10. I was hoping he would get the top 10, but I was invested, and it was actually really, it was I mean, for driving in circles and stuff like that, I kind of see it now. I couldn't watch it for the entirety. I can't watch every single lap. To me, I would lose interest. But for the end, it was pretty cool. And when you start seeing cars pass each other and stuff like that, so like I said, a NASCAR, I just appreciate that you guys, even though it's the thing that you should do, I still appreciate that it was a move that you did do, because obviously we're seeing right now, we talk about it a lot, there are people who have seats and that own teams that can't even remotely come close to making a decision the way that you guys made a decision. So I give a little bit of props to NASCAR for that. On to this next one. As you guys see in the thumbnail, Kobe Bryant got himself an award this week. He was awarded the LA Emmy Governor's Award for his legacy of philanthropy, community building and inspiration. It was also said that one of the key things that pushed over him winning this award was his contributions and his promotion of women's basketball from coaching teams at the Mamba Academy. I'm not sure if that's what it's called anymore, but I'm going to call it that because that's what it was. The Mamba Academy. So stupid. The Mama Caddy also for the amount of attention and focus that he was putting into the WNBA and all kinds of stuff and within the community and caring so much about the sport for women. So he got that award, and I feel like it was well deserved. So congratulations to the late great Kobe Bryant on that one. Huge to see that one. I didn't know anything about that until I saw this, and I think that's really cool. That's really really big. For them to give that award to Kobe. So shout out to Mr. Bryant. On to this next one. I want to talk about Bubba. Okay, I kind of skimmed over it, but yes, I talked about Bubba's car. If we can get that picture up, LeBron James was a fan of it. He shouted out the car, and like I said, pretty much people are just all about this move and the NASCAR allowing him to have the car look the way it did, because in a sport where not a lot of us are in it, for him to do that was pretty strong for Bubba. Like I said, unfortunately, he finished 11th, but still, for him to go out there and do that, it was really dope, and it was entertaining for me. I watched it, so I just wanted to make sure you guys saw that car, because look at this thing is dope. Look at this thing. That's so sick.
Yeah.
I should zoom in on it. That thing is really sick. And then 43, it's just. Wouldn't it be cool if he was like number 42 too, though? That'd be pretty sick. Just on top of that, that'd be pretty sick. But what were you gonna say, Britt?
I think it's a good moment too, because obviously Bubba's been racing for a bit now, and I mean he's highest ever. Yeah, he was the youngest ever to win a race. He was he's the highest African American to ever go like in certain, depending on whatever race it is, because obviously they have different names and it's different races, but among several races, he was the highest, took the highest place or whatever, which was second races. So when I was talking the other day about like Tiger Woods and then the moment that he had when he was a kid and wanted to be like this, African American, like the first black guy to do this, and he was surrounded by a bunch of old white men, and they made him feel bad who he was, which is, I believe, why he changed into being who he was. Because I actually seen videos of I don't know if you guys have watched them on Facebook. It's like a little black girl, and she's crying because she's dark skinned and she feels like she's ugly because she's dark skinned or whatever. Like literally, the world could make you feel like low-key hate yourself, and especially like a world like golf where you're surrounded by only old white men and you're the only one and you're a child, so I obviously I can get why Tiger low-key kind of like hated who he was, because he was taught to hate who he was and not feel good about being like pro-black and stuff when we saw him being like that as a kid, so to have this moment around Bubba is really big, because like we said, the NASCAR world is filled with people that don't like him and literally are trying to be like, oh no, the Confederate flag is the greatest thing in the world, when we all know the history of the Confederate flag, so for him to have this moment where now, like, even though he's one of very few in his sport, that is black, to have this moment where now he has like a fan base that's going to come and actually rally around him and support him, I think is like, I might start crying, but I think it's just such a beautiful moment. Like, and I love that guys like LeBron and Alvin and stuff are coming out and we got your back, because he's probably been fighting a long fight by himself, feeling a certain kind of way his whole entire career in NASCAR, and now he has a moment where he has in other sports, we think of, oh, poor football players but they have each other to at least lean on, this guy had nobody, and he'd have a fan base to support him. So now he has that, and I think it's like beautiful. And maybe we'll see. I mean, it's not like Black people can't drive cars, so maybe we'll start seeing like more Black people in NASCAR too. I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to cry. I didn't know
no, because you're right. No, 100%. And like you said, for him to go through that, and who knows if he was going down that same path as the Tiger Woods, where he was starting to probably feel like, I'm just going to, keep all of those feelings about, my culture and about who I am to myself and not say anything. Because obviously everywhere around me, like, that's not what's, they don't care about that.
Yeah.
And for him to get to this point where he's at right now, make a stand like he did, and to have a fan base like that, like, that's really cool. I hear everything you're saying. I think that's a good message for that. So you're good. No, you're good. Let it out. We're gonna move on to the next one. This is a weird one for me. Because we talked about this before the plan had officially been set in place for the NBA returning in July. We had talked about if the league came back and if players decided not to play, what should happen to those players? Should it be okay? Should they be paid? And blah 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 blah. Well, we're actually that those questions and those scenarios are actually reality now. We talked about last week, the initial plan was passed where the NBA would return July 31st. That has now been moved to July 30th, as well as it was also said that the NBA and the NBPA are set to agree on a provision that wouldn't require players to restart the season and won't discipline any players for staying home. So basically saying that if players feel like they don't really have a chance at the chip or really have a opportunity to win, that, and also if they feel strongly about, health and they don't think it's time to play yet, or if they are, like Matt Barnes was saying, that they're really focused on the protest and the movement, and they don't feel like basketball is really important. If those players choose to not play, then they don't have to play, but know that you aren't going to be paid, but there won't be any consequences, no fines or anything like that if you're not choosing to play. And to me, I feel like that is the right decision. I don't think that it should be paid if they're not playing, even with all the reasons that I just listed. I feel like that's just the way it should be. I don't feel like, they should be upset about something and feel a way about something and then not go ahead and decide. Because it's like I said, we talked about it here. Just like anything, if I'm upset about the program I'm using to edit these things and I think it's dumb and I don't want I want to come in, I'm not going to get paid. I'm most likely going to get fired. So I feel like you're entitled to your opinion, and I think it's right that they shouldn't be there shouldn't be any consequences. I think that that's the right thing to do. But at the same time, if you're not going to play, you shouldn't get paid. I think it's just that simple. But I'm gonna ask you, Devin. I got a question for you, Devin. Do you think that the players that are choosing not to play for the list of reasons that I said, do you agree with me? Do you think that it's right that they shouldn't be paid? And do you also think that it's right for the NBA to not, not discipline them for playing? Or do you think that they should be disciplined? How do you feel about that decision for the NBA to allow them to take off the returning of the season?
Gosh, I don't feel like they should be disciplined for not wanting to play. We're in a really chaotic and unprecedented time right now. So if there's a myriad of reasons why these athletes wouldn't want to get back out on the court, when they wouldn't feel right about it or they would worry about it. I think not getting paid is obviously like the natural choice, just like you were saying. If I decided that I, didn't want to come into work, I wouldn't get paid for the day or whatever it is. So I think that that's probably the right way to do it. And I think it's good, since we are in this, the state of the world is so unusual right now. I feel like it is good that they're given the option to not have to play if it doesn't like sit right with them, or if they don't feel right about it. So I think they're handling it in the best way that they can. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still really feel, as far as for those who feel strongly when it comes to the movement right now, the protests and stuff like that feel strongly about not playing because they want to focus on that. I still feel like the NBA coming back could be a tool used for some of those players that are choosing that. But at the same time, I get it. Like, I get why they would not want to focus on basketball, because that's not what is actually important to the game. And I get that. I just also feel like that is a tool, because I just feel like, because it's the end of July, who knows where we are going to be with that at that point in time, because there's just 2020 has already been throwing so many crazy things at us. Who knows what happens between now and then? So I just feel like, then for sure when the NBA is back in July 30th that it's going to be brought back up because LeBron James is going to say something. There's going to be a message. Something's going to be said to them, bring back that fire. Because like I said, we got to keep this going all the way until we start voting, coming up here in the winter. So I don't know. I just feel like, and for the people who are worried about safety, I get it. I just, we'll see what happens. I'm just glad that, they won't be disciplined for making those decisions.
But I'm 100% on that. I feel like the platform that these athletes are going to get when the games do resume, because not everybody is paying attention to what these basketball players are up to every day like we are. Right. I mean, we do it because it's our job, but a lot of people may only be really paying attention to what LeBron's posting when the Lakers are playing or whatever. So I think I'm with you on that. I think that they're going to have, it might even be a missed opportunity to draw more attention to the movements that are going on, the movement that's going on right now if they choose not to play. But that being said, if they don't feel right about it, yeah, I think I'm with you 100%. I just want to throw that out there. I do think that the platform that they'll be with the games, yeah, it'd be good.
And especially of all the sports where the NBA is the sport where that they let them speak. They, before the NBA awards, not too long ago, right after, oh my goodness, I can't even remember which one it was, unfortunately, when they had Chris Paul, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Carmelo Anthony speak before the awards show, the NBA. Right, yeah. It was the ESPYs. Yeah, but they allowed them, and that's one, and those are all NBA athletes. The NBA is one of the sports that allow their players to be vocal, and I just feel like it's an opportunity that they should use. But yeah, moving on to this next one, we're talking about Vanessa Bryant. She got some tattoos to remember both Gigi and Kobe. Her first one was this first video is a video for getting tattoo on her wrist for Gigi. If we can get that video up, no music because copyright reasons. But yeah, it was really nice, dope little tattoo. You're not seeing the process on this one, but you're seeing the tattoo there. This next one to me, I don't know. This next one to me was really, it just made me feel bad. It made me really sad because where she's getting that tattoo is very, very, very painful. I don't have any tattoos, but I got homies that are tatted up neck to toe, and that is a very painful spot to get your tattoo. And to see her so just taking it, taking it and so emotionless with what it just, to me, that just, I don't know, that made me feel, that put me in my feels a little bit, just to, how much pain and how this is still something that's hurting her all these months later, getting a tattoo on her neck, no emotion, not saying a damn thing. That was crazy to me. And just still, my heart still goes out to her for such a loss. Like, even though I know there's all these things that are going on in the world, but that's within their family, that's something that's big to them, and I'm sure she's still hurt just as much as the day before, every day since that day. So I don't know, that maybe I'm crazy. That's just how I felt when I saw that, and it just made me sad just seeing her just taking that, because there's not much going on here, and you gonna have some sort of pain, and she's just out there taking it like a champ. So I don't know, that put me in my feels a little bit, but go ahead, Vanessa. Dope tattoos for you. But last but not least, guys, I don't know how you guys feel about these kind of things. We tend to make Fumble videos. Leo, don't put it up yet. We tend to make Fumble videos about injuries, and you guys like injury videos. So I got something for you guys right here. And if you don't like it, look away. And if you kind of like it, but you're not sure if you're going to like it, you can do one of these and you can peek through your finger. But Tony Hawk, who is known to break many bones, cleanly dislocated his two of his fingers on his hand, as you can see right here. If we can get that picture, look at that.
God. No, look, I hate this. And this is so bad.
I told you, you gotta do the peeking thing. Yeah, clean. It was like a clean dislocation.
So I don't have a reaction because I didn't look.
And I completely understand, but cleanly, it's so clean that if you look next, we got the X-rays, and you can see it literally looked like his bones did the cha-cha slide and just moved to the right real quick, because there was nothing. Look, it's literally like somebody photoshopped it, like someone moved the bone and tilted it up a little bit. That's crazy, but luckily, just a dislocation. So doctor went in there, snapped those boys right back into place, and Tony Hawk is going to be on his merry way. But thought I would show that to the chat real quick, hit y'all with that 1-2 real quick that you guys weren't even prepared for. But anyways, that's it.
It didn't.
That's it. That's it for me. The post up.
All right. Well, we do not have a what we not going to do today. So we're going to go right into Brit's takes. Brit's takes.
Oh gosh. All right, my eyes are dry. We're good to go. So my Brits take, I said, was going to be off of one of Chris's post-ups. Obviously, I'm talking about the NBA. They obviously told us a couple weeks ago or last week, whenever it was, that the NBA season was coming back. Everyone gets excited. We learned that they're basically going to be in a bubble in Orlando. They got to get tested every single day. So obviously now players found that out. They're going to sit back and they're like, okay, wait, like, what does this actually mean? So yesterday, 40 to 50 top players had a conference call to discuss and break down what the bubble really means, right? So basically, they're thinking about it and they're like, okay, originally people the Dame Lillard thoughts of like, well, I don't want to really play if I'm not going to get to make it to the playoffs. But now even they're second guessing that because now they have an opportunity to make it to the playoffs, but they're like, wait a second, if I'm not going to win anything, do I really want to be in this super crazy bubble and be super like isolated from my family and friends and like whatever the case? Like obviously now at this point, it's like if you're not one of the top teams like the Clippers, the Lakers, the Bucks, and you might make the playoffs, but really, I mean, 7th, 8th, 5th, all these seeds, like when do they hardly ever even make it to that spot where they're not only like making it to the NBA finals, but actually winning the NBA finals? Very, very few times. So now they're sitting back and like, is this actually even worth it? And they're second guessing it. So obviously now we have this situation that Chris was talking about where the NBA and the NBPA are like, okay, let's come up with something to make players not have consequences and they can stay home if they want to stay home. Well, and you guys actually spoke a little bit on money and like, oh, well, they wouldn't get paid, yada, yada. But number one, the NBA players, they played about 80% of their season. They gave back 25% of what they made, or if they hadn't made that yet, they just didn't get that 25%. And that was something that they agreed upon for the regular season. But when it comes to the playoffs, so there are playoff pools. It's not like the NFL where like, okay, for this game, you get this amount of money. For this game, you get this amount of money, whatever the case is. It's actually a smaller pool that actually mostly goes to the team. And then the players get like a little piece of it. But most of NBA players' money is not, they actually deter away from doing game checks, you know, so like our postseason checks. So like as far as like NFL gets bonuses for, oh, if you get this many tackles, if you get this many interceptions, if whatever the case, they have a lot of that stuff in their contracts. The NBA players have their money regardless, you know, so whether you make it to postseason or not, they actually have the bulk of their money. It's very, very rare in NBA contracts to where they're actually banking on any kind of money that they would get in postseason because that pool of money is so little. It's literally like maybe they're getting $25,000 extra dollars. Like, so that doesn't matter to any of the players anyway. Like if they're going to play, they're just going to play. They're not really, whether they got the money or not really doesn't make a difference to these guys. So the argument obviously now has been like, oh, well, I mean, the NBA players, they're not essential workers, you know, like why are we going to put them through this health thing and yada, yada. Well, I mean, there's so many people that aren't essential workers anymore. And like we talked about at the top of the show, everywhere's opening back up. So servers, bartenders are working, pet groomers are working, everybody's working again, okay? So it's not like a time where it was just doctors and the nurses and the grocery store. Everybody's working again. So, and we're talking about season starting on July 31st. So that is still 6 weeks away from this moment right now. And already everybody's pretty much open in a sense to where I'm not using that argument like, oh, well, NBA is just there for entertainment. Well, so is the bartender's just there to pour me a drink, but you guys still have them showing up to work every day now and working during this situation. So a lot of people actually have been pissed. When this post was put up, I kind of went through and looked through the comments to see everybody's kind of reaction and how they felt. Fan-wise, fans are pissed. I have a couple I want to read. One fan said, the broke, unemployed people are going to hate young, rich athletes even more now. Another one said, people idolize NBA players. We are all sacrificing when we go back to work. NBA players are not the exception. And then another wrote, then stay home. There are plenty of G League players who would do anything to be in your situation and play in important games. Let the real ballers ball. That one actually was very interesting to me, because that is true. Like, if the team comes up with a certain amount of players that don't want to play, how are they replaced? You know, like, are you bringing just a bunch of guys up from the G League and giving them opportunities to play? And then, like I always say, never let a freshman take your spot. And this is a situation where that could very well happen, because let's not forget some top players that played in the G League and only get onto the team because of an injury. And now in this case, it's going to be a situation, well, somebody wanted to stay home because they didn't want to get or take any risks or whatever. They didn't want to be in this bubble, which I think is the biggest situation of it, is the bubble. Because like Dame said, like, hey, I mean, I've been protesting. If I'm going to, you know, risk my life for playing, I'm going to risk it for protesting too. He said the risks literally are going to be there regardless, right? So, I mean, players can literally break, you know, like, there's so many things that could happen to players while they're playing anyway. So to be put in a thing where you're telling players like, oh, well, you don't have to play if you don't want. Okay, well, now a G League guy is going to come up and potentially, if they play well enough, could take your spot, you know? So I don't know if I don't believe there's no consequences, because you're not going to be guaranteed a roster spot just because you decided to sit back if they end up finding another guy that's going to be just as good. With that said, how many guys do you now think are going to not actually go? The optics of it is terrible. Like, first of all, there's not going to be any top players that decide against this. They're not going to do that because, like, you know, people were saying, let the real ballers ball. Like, players are not going to want to feel like they're the one that sat back and didn't play while everybody else went to work. They don't want to be that player that did that. So, and there's not going to be any top players. And then all this other players that even think about doing it, your job can be taken. I don't care what they say about consequences or not having consequences. There are going to be consequences, period. Like, if you don't show up for work and then somebody else comes and has to fill in for you and that person does a better job than you did, damn right, you're going to still lose your job. Like, you might have to, like, step back a little bit and take a different role. Like, there's no way that this happens without consequences happening, whether it's the optics, whether it's another player coming in to take your spot. I just don't believe that's going to happen. I don't know how the NBA and the NBA or the NBPA get around even saying that there's not going to be any consequences. Like, okay, yeah, you might not lose your contract, but you don't anyway, because the NBA's money's guaranteed. Oh, you might not get fined. Okay, that's the one thing. That is the one thing the players won't get fined for not showing up. But you're not going to, any other thing, they can still trade you. They can still move you to a team. Like, they can still, like, cut you. They can still cut you at some point. You know, it might not be the beginning of next season or the end of this season, but sometime next season, before either the trade deadline or whatever's over, your ass can still get cut if they found somebody to come in and take that new roster spot that wanted to play in this moment. So my question is going to be to you, Chris. Do NBA players seem spoiled in this moment to say, like, well, because everybody's working now and everybody's whatever, do you think it seems like they're being spoiled to say that they don't want to play? Because even, I mean, you can talk about the protests too. We still all got to work too. Through the protests, people are going to the protests when they get off work, whatever the case is, people are still using their platforms. And then in this case, you're at a job where you can actually protest at work when you're in the NBA. So question one, do you think they're spoiled? Question two is, do you think players actually won't go? And if they do go, or do you think they won't go because of the optics or the opportunity of, like, possibly losing their job?
Well, I think I think that they're spoiled, and we've been talking about that because remember they were talking about how they feel like they're all going broke and stuff like that. So for many reasons, yes, I do think the players are spoiled. To answer that second question, I do believe there's going to be some. I feel like some of these guys, I don't think, like you said, though, I don't think it's going to be any like the stars or anything like that. But I think there might be some of these lower players that are on, maybe like the Wizards or one of those lower teams that know they don't really have a chance that might use this to then not come back. And like you said, G League player, I prefer that. Like, give that opportunity to a player that is hungry and wants that spot, you know? So, yes, to answer your question, I do think it's spoiled, and I do expect to see some guys that we probably don't really talk about too often decide to not play, and then we'll be talking about them a lot because they didn't decide to play.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, we were talking about some people think Danny Green is overpaid. He's the third highest paid person on the Lakers roster. Guess what? He came from the G League too. Well, it was the D League back then, but there are a lot of players that ball out now that were on a G League team, and it only took one injury or one little opportunity, and they went in and took somebody's spot. So I think it'll be really interesting to see, because the only people that would be that wouldn't happen to is probably a star player. But like you said, all the star players are probably going to be playing. You know, like I don't see LeBron or Giannis or Kawhi or Paul George, any of these guys sitting out. Like I just don't see it.
Yeah, neither do I at all.
Well, that's Brit's take for today. Do you want to add anything, Devin?
Yes, so I actually have one thing that we should mention really quickly. So Nike actually just announced that they're going to start recognizing Juneteenth as an annual paid holiday, which is huge. So that's an exciting.
It's not already. Wow. I posted that yesterday. One of my friends said she went and asked her supervisor, like, why is Juneteenth not a paid holiday or whatever. Literally the next day, the CEO came out and did a conference call and said Juneteenth will from now and forever on be a paid holiday at our work. So I see a lot of jobs kind of coming up here and there, and that Juneteenth is now a nationally recognized paid leave day from work. So that is dope that Nike decided to do that as well. They've kind of been on top of the curve with stuff. So I appreciate them for doing that.
Yeah, it's surprising that it's not recognized or talked about as much as it should be, considering the importance and significance of that day. So I think
it's not even a national holiday. It's like state by state can recognize it as a holiday, but it's not considered a national holiday.
Crazy.
It's a cultural holiday.
Crazy. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to our live show today. Don't forget to subscribe, tap the bell, hit the thumbs up, do all the things that you know you're supposed to do, including washing your hands. And we're going to be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we'll see you then. Bye, guys.